Trap is a very valuable card, and I'm almost surprised. I guess he wasn't expecting Zoo, hence he threw it away, but that is otherwise a card I would venture to say is great to keep, but
I
that
mean,
double Mad Scientist opener is just crazy.
this is almost the ideal hand for Kaldi, to be honest. Like, you have
Yeah.
double Mad Scientist and Unleash the Hounds. Those two cards are exactly the two cards that you want. Also, this Flame Imp from Dog, it's actually usually like you would want to draw on turn one. But against Hunter, it's kind of somewhat of a detriment because Hunter has a lot of two ones that can trade into the Flame Imp, and like it also does 3 damage to yourself. And against Phase Hunter, that's not what you want though. But to
Yeah.
Dog's credit, he does have a Void Walker to put behind the Flame Imp, so he'll be able to protect it fairly easily.
Yeah, I was gonna say that Voidwalker is gonna be exactly the reason why he probably feels somewhat confident the Flame Imp can get value, because that being able to protect it is great, and he's gonna go for the race instead of developing the Argent Squire. I can't really fault him for that. I guess you could play Argent Squire when you think a trap's gonna be set up. Afterwards, it's gonna be a little tough to deal with. Oh my goodness, Kaldi. What is that?
I mean, basically at this point, Kaldi just has to survive till turn 4.
Yeah, and that's about it.
Yeah, he just has to Knife Juggler, Coin, Unleash the Hounds. Honestly, Kaldi drew pretty much perfectly so far in this game. If only that Abusive Sergeant were a Leper Gnome perhaps, or like a Worgen Infiltrator.
Worgen Infiltrator.
Like slightly better, but this is in like the 95 percentile of hands that you could possibly draw against a deck like Zoo.
Because the double Mad Scientist, you know, once the first traps out, Zoo is like, okay, you know what, it's unlikely he's got another one on the back end, and then you play the second Mad Scientist. Although in this case, I wonder, wouldn't it be almost slightly better that the second Mad Scientist were a explosive trap straight up, that you could just drop at whim instead of having a minion that can be triggered a little later than you like?
Yeah, very possible. When I was at the CN versus EU tournament, Kalento, I was having a conversation with the Kalento, and he told me that actually explosive traps are better than Mad Scientists in this matchup. A large majority of the time, because you can just play them non-reactively. If you're top decking a Mad Scientist at later stages of the game, for example, you won't be able to play it, and sometimes it's just one turn too late.
So it's funny here how Dog is putting his opponent in the position where he has to unleash before the jugglers. Like, we know the hand, so we obviously know that Kaldi doesn't want to unleash here, but he's going to be forced to, so he's not going to get the knife hits that he really wants to be fed.
I mean, I think Kaldi is pretty happy about this, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it's not a bad one, but it's just that those knives would have been so devastating. Even more devastating, I'd guess.
So, actually, Kaldi now, he can suicide his Mad Scientist and just go all for face, because there'll be explosive trap up and Dog will have to clear it. But I think right now he's considering whether something like a Defender of Argus or maybe even a Void Terror might be able to buff some of these creatures out of range or just steal their health. So
funny enough, I think Kaldi was playing a Freezing Trap. Was it Kaldi or Frezar was playing Freezing Trap in their Aggro Hunter recently? But I saw on KPL. That was also a little unusual, but I wonder if it's going to be another trick.
Most players, if they play a different trap in their list, it's a Snake Trap, but I have seen Freezing Trap before.
Oh my goodness. A little too late.
Yeah, just slightly too late.
It's Freezing Trap.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
You all...
So
I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, I'm not surprised because the way Kaldi telegraphed it, because he traded in, it was obviously Freezing Trap. The previous turn, Kaldi could have gone for the more risky play and just bait out the explosive trap, but yeah, that worked as well. Yeah, yet another Mad Scientist comes on the field in conjunction with the Knife Juggler, so almost certainly there's going to be explosive trap coming down now.
I think you just, it should be. I mean, although we have seen Frezar run 2 freezing traps and nothing else, so I'm still very much unsure what's in his list completely.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty good. So if this indeed is going to be a freezing trap, then Dog will have a way to proc it. If it's an explosive trap, it's still going to be okay because the Argent Squire will probably survive.
Yeah. Interestingly, though, Dog hasn't had to tap this game.
Yeah, that's true.
He got hit with 1 Hound and his own Flame Imp. No life tap's been played yet, which I feel is kind of weird. But against Hunter, it's almost a dream scenario where you get a hand that you can play pretty much as you go without having to life tap and not put your health at risk. I think that's a pretty good position.
Yeah, right now, actually, Kaldi does have some options, but they're all like very aggressive options. And because Dog, he drew fairly well as well in the beginning of the game, just flooding the board. Um, Kaldi, he has like the Leroy Jenkins and the Wolf Rider actually don't help with clearing the board at all. So he might not be as good a position as we kind of hoped.
So if that's a freezing trap, I guess you just knife juggler Iron Beak Owl. I don't know. I can't see what else. If that is in fact freezing trap.
Now, I think one of the reasons that Kaldi might be putting freezing trap in this deck is because he knows Dog is a Druid player. Dog favors Druid over any other class, and the freezing trap is just the best card or one of the best cards in the Hunter deck against Druids. Unfortunately, Dog is going to be playing Zoo, so the freezing trap isn't as valuable. Like, can you imagine if what happened, the position of this game, if that were an explosive trap instead of a freezing trap, the first one?
Yeah, the first one would have been devastatingly good.
Yeah, and wow, this one again, like Kaldi is punished for putting 2 freezing traps in his deck.
Yeah, that imp did nothing. As you said, I think he might have been playing around Druid as a kind of lead play. Oh man, he finds the Unleash after playing the Knife Jugglers already 2 turns back to back. But he's going to be able to get some value out of that one. You pop the spider, but then what if? What if?
Yeah.
What if?
So you can actually just pop the spider with the Knife Juggler and then Unleash?
Yeah, probably for 2 hounds.
Play again. So he's valuing the Unleash for a later turn, I guess. Well, goes with
it's a good one now. The thing is, if you pop the spider first, and the knife hits your juggler, you get punished really heavily.
Yeah, so it's just a more risky play. So the issue now here is that Zoo, it's very good at taking board position, but it's not very good at taking board position back.
Yeah. There's
exactly.
there's no swing back mechanic, unfortunately. Once it loses it, it's pretty much gone. And that, as we said, Kaldi's hand was as good as it was going to get in that position. But still, I mean, this 8-8, if Kaldi can find lethal soon... Oh, wait, that might just be it. Yep, that's it. Good game.
Yeah, well played. So that's 11, 12, 13, 14.
Is he one off? No way. No, the knife should do it, right? Well, it might. Oh, he has exact lethal. Never mind. What am I talking about?
That is exactly.
Doesn't even need the knives. Yeah, exactly lethal with the +5. All right.
I mean, Kaldi just counting it up a bit, making sure he has it.
Doing hunter math.
Yeah, no reason to in this situation. There's no reason to play out your game so fast. We saw some kind of shenanigans with Ignite. Quote, quote, missing lethal.
Well, yeah, I mean, he saw it. It just wasn't quite there.
Yeah.
That was a little unfortunate. When I saw that play, I saw him go about it, and I was really exasperated. I was like, no!
Now, Wild Growth, Keeper the Grove, Swipe. All he needs is throw away the Emperor and get an Innervate, and that's going to be the ideal hand against Zoo.
Pretty much. It's going to be as close to especially if you find... Innervate is great. Wrath could also help quite a bit. Shade of Nax isn't even terrible in this position because you can let it sit. If you got the Wild Growth, it curves. If you don't need the Keeper right away, if there's no Flame Imp or Knife Juggler, you can always curve it with that. And the Swipe, I mean, with the popped Haunted Creeper, that's pretty much godlike, honestly. Wild Growth turn 2 or turn 1. If you find a 3-drop. Oh man, Kaldi's hand is crazy for Zoo.
Yeah, and also, just talking a little bit about Dog's particular Zoo deck, it's probably one of the lowest curving Zoo decks I've seen. Because I have seen Zoo decks that include cards like Dr. Boom, Mal'Ganis, obviously some
Doom Bane of
cards.
Doom even.
Yeah, Kalento even got rank 1 legend recently with Sylvanas Windrunner in his quote-unquote Zoo or mid-range Warlock deck.
Yeah, mid-range Warlock. I think that deck's been tweaked around a lot with, or tinkered with rather, since the advent of GVG. That's a deck that's been around, and with the addition of the Imp Gang boss, I think it's making, and the Demon Wrath that's coming up as well. Like, I need to mention that because that card enables Nerubian Eggs. It doesn't really matter if your creepers die. It protects it protects your Imp Gang boss, Flame Imps, and Voidwalkers, Mistresses of Pain from removal. It's just a crazy card in general.
Yeah, pretty crazy indeed. Speaking of another crazy card, Imp Gang boss, but unfortunately for Dog, that will be dealt with fairly abruptly with the swipe.
It
That
just
being
feels
said,
pretty
like,
bad though. Do you really do
yeah,
that now, or do you pop the spider?
yeah, like right now, I feel like swipe actually isn't even that good here. So Kaldi, I think he can actually play it more slowly here because he has the swipe as a backup for later turns. So he can even play something like the Piloted Shredder here.
Yeah, I like the Pilot Shredder a lot more than Keep of the Grove.
Yeah, I feel like the silencing a Nubian, or sorry, silencing the spiders, the Haunted Creeper, it's actually not that impactful. Usually you prefer to silence something like the Nubian Egg, so you can even save the silence.
And so Dog has a Sea Giant almost ready to go. If he pops the spiders, is that enough to play the Giant? No, it's gonna be one off still. Yeah, slightly off.
He's thinking, I think, about trading into the Piloted Shredder, and that's going to be a fairly good trade. 3/5. It's like a Senjin with an ability trading into a Pilot Shredder.
Yeah. Oh wow. I hope he doesn't play into Swipe because that's gonna be. He's gonna have to, right?
Yeah,
Oh man.
that's
Oh,
actually
that's
unfortunate.
excruciating. Yes, this is a terrible position. Although, if Kaldi swipes the non-imp gang boss target, then the imp doesn't die.
That's true.
That's
So
like the one good thing.
it's actually a little confusing, but Swipe, I think how the programming works is that Swipe works with how it seems on the screen, because like the big claw goes first, and then the side swipe goes next.
Next, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, the 4 damage gets dealt first, and then the 1 damage AOE gets dealt.
Yeah, that's the way you see it from a visual standpoint. Alright, so what I'm pretty sure we're gonna be seeing a swipe here, but... Oh, is there an argument to be made for just killing the Voidwalker with your 4-1 and keeping the swipe, or are you afraid of Lotheb on the back end of this? And then you're stuck in a pretty weird spot.
It's just that the 3/1 Imp Gang boss is kind of annoying, so... I'm not sure. I think it is possible that you can save your swipe for another turn, though, because again, your hand quality is so good that swiping might just like you can pretty much delay the swipe till a later turn.
Yeah,
Also, like,
until you really need it.
there's not that much power in the board, and I think actually like a possible Emperor could be good here, just to pretty much add more innervates.
Oh man, Keeper of the Grove swipe turn 6. That's gonna be disgustingly good for him. He's gonna be able to pop the spider, then remove those spiderlings that come out of it. You know what? That's probably what we're gonna be seeing here.
And also like 5 mana Sylvanas, 3 mana Piloted Shredder.
Oh, hello, Doomguard.
He can just take more damage here, and eventually, if he really needs to, he'll be able to heal up with a 6 mana Ancient of Lord.
So my guess here is the Dog has to kill the Emperor. I think that's rule number 1 of facing off against Druid. So he can play the spider, pop it, then play his own, then play Sea Giant if he wants to.
Yeah, so he's popping the spiders, like it plays a bit more into swipe, I guess, but he'll be able to play the Sea Giant this way. So he's basically forcing his opponent to have BGH.
And it might work out pretty well, actually, because the swipe doesn't really kill the Sea Giant, despite the fact that it's been reduced to 3 mana. There's no follow-up to deal another 4 the 8/8. Yep.
This is no good.
Yeah, no.
Let's see, if he... I guess the play here is still Keeper of the Grove and swipe, right?
Yeah, you pop the spiders, then you swipe the 2/3.
Or do you silence the spiders? No, you pop the spiders.
Yeah, you silence the spiders just for the sake of it, and then they stay alive, and you just troll yourself. Well,
Yeah,
what I'm curious about though is like he had a really sick start, but Dog's board is in such a good spot right now with that Sea Giant and the possible Doomguard on the back end.
Yeah, Dog has been doing a really good job making plays really awkward for Kaldi. He's not playing like the most powerful turns each single turn. Like for example, the previous turn he had an option to clear that pirate, the 4/1 pirate, but he didn't do so because he wanted to play around swipe. So again, not the most powerful turns, but he's just playing around a lot of stuff, and he's playing around the exact cards that Kaldi has in his hand. And also not playing around the cards that Kaldi doesn't have in his hand.
In his hand, yeah.
For example, a BGH that Kaldi doesn't have.
Dog would be devastated if BGH were to come out, but he's gonna be pretty happy to see that his Sea Giant's at least gonna stay up. Because 8 damage to the face of the Druid right now is pretty meaningful. Oh man, he can get another 5 if he plays Doomguard right now. Oh wow, and it gets followed up by a taunt minion. That is as good as it's gonna get. You lose the egg, do you really care? I don't think so.
Yeah, and now there's gonna be 2 minions that you can't deal with on the board. Oh, that's so much damage. 13 damage all to the face.
Wow. Keeper of the Grove, that's no help.
Yeah, just... Not only is there no cards that really help the situation, and
I think that's game actually. You
Yeah,
have
I
to
think
heal
that's game.
yourself with Ancient of Lore to 14. But then you can't even kill the Voidwalker, so you still die. Yeah, you're dead. Good game. There's nothing you can do. Unless I'm mistaken. There's literally not a way for him to win.
you can't even pop your Paladin Shredder here.
For an unstable ghoul or some
Yeah,
other such
exactly.
shenanigan. Yeah, there's nothing. Wait. Oh, no, there's no... I can't... Maybe Ancient of Lore for draw, but what did you hope to find? I can't even...
Some Innervate, I guess. Innervate
Yeah,
plus...
for what? Hero power? That's gonna do nothing, unfortunately. Maybe double Innervate, but there was... I can't even think of a thing that it would have done. So that's gonna be game here for Dog. Is gonna be taking it with Zoo. Get, you know, the control threats against other control decks.
We're seeing the starting hands from both players.
Yep.
Neither player has a very good starting hand, I would say. Dog is really looking for a combination of good spells and good minions. Meanwhile, Kaldi is just looking for those wild growths and innervates.
Yeah, that seems like a very tough mulligan choice. Well, Dog does get his deadly Blade Flurry backstab, oddly enough. And there goes the Wild Growth. Not going to be coined out, I suspect. There is no 3-drop and no real reason to do it.
Ooh, someone opened Tyrion Fording. Congratulations to them. Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that at the bottom left. Somebody... Maybe we'll see that next time we do the delay sync testing. Alright, Wild Growth for the... possible coin Belcher or Druid of the Claw.
Yeah, either would be just incredible here. That being said, Dog's hand, because he got that Valley Teacher, it's looking to be a lot better than normal. Usually, like, the way you beat Druids, and the way I see Rogues close out the games really early, is with a turn 4 play of Valley Teacher prep into either Eviscerate or Sap to clear the board, and then the Druid doesn't get Wild Growth, so they don't have the 6 mana to swipe and Hero Power down. Yeah, and if you get that rogue play of Valley Teacher prep something to clear the board, and the rogue doesn't, or the Druid doesn't get Wild Growth, you pretty much win the game at that point because it's just too much pressure of like the Valley Teacher tokens and the Valley Teacher going down at you every single turn.
All right, so Kaldi finds a Shade, but that thing is a little bit late. He'd probably have loved to see it in his earlier hand, so to play it on curve, but still not too bad. Thing is, it won't really threaten Kaldi. I mean, Dog, as long as he's got a Blade Flurry ready to go.
Oh, that's true. He has like there's kind of a fork in the road here. Does he play the 3-drop and save his coin so he has more options later into the game, or does he play the 5-drop or one of the 5-drops? And that's the 5-drops are more power, but they're also more vulnerable to exactly what I said. Valley Teacher, prep sap, and because you don't have a swipe in your hand, you're gonna be very, very vulnerable here. Whereas if you play the Shade, Valley Teacher, prep what? What are you gonna prep? Fan of Knives, right?
Oh, well, speaking of prep, there's... I mean, I guess you could prep Blade Flurry if you felt like it. That gives you a board, and you take care of the Shade, but it's such a little Blade Flurry value that you probably want to get away from it. And he does, but he finds Loatheb. I was gonna say, if he finds Loatheb in the next 2 turns, that could be huge for the Druid player. And he does.
Oh, he's actually considering Keeper of the Grove here. That's really interesting. I would think that this would be like kind of like almost an automatic Loatheb play.
Yeah, it feels to me like that because you can snowball that out of control. You can, you know, get a foothold on this board. The rogue can't contest very easily.
Yeah, also like Loatheb is just the best answer in the game to Valley Teacher. A 5/5, it's a 5/5. It prevents the Valley Teacher from spawning any tokens essentially.
Yep. Well, Dog does have the backstab for 5 mana, so he's gonna be able to take care of Loatheb, but with the deadly poison.
Not only is he able to take care of Loatheb, but we're seeing the strong points of Rogue. If this Vicer survives another turn, Dog can get some crazy combos with Preparation, Tinker Sharpsword Oil into Blade Flurry.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think she'll live, but
Yeah, I mean,
You
from
never
our
know.
perspective, we see a
It's
Wrath
over.
and a
Yeah.
Keeper of the Grove.
It's it's
The,
unlikely
the,
she'll shoot the next day.
the Lotheb did do its job, though,
It did.
because now there only one Violet Teacher token spawned, only one apprentice spawned, so it's still a pretty good deal.
Yeah, and the good thing is also, as well is that the Shade now survives, so I mean the dog has to answer it. Whereas if you traded it last turn, it was a 3/3, so it died at the Vile Teacher. Now it's alive, and now dog has to handle that.
Yeah, now it's out of Blade Flurry range.
Yep. Oh well, maybe not anymore. That'll solve the problem. It's not a bad Blade Flurry either. Like it's not the best one ever seen, but it's not terrible. They'll do the job.
It's 2 cards that you use the Blade Flurry plus the Deadly Poison, and you essentially killed off like a Lotheb and a Keeper of the Grove and a Shade with it, so it's not too bad. And if you include the
Lotheb that was killed with it, I guess.
The backstab, that's like kind of like a 3/3, something like that. And if you include the Via Teacher and the Wrath, it's a 4/4. So
yeah,
kind of even.
It kind of evens out, honestly. It's been about card for card so far, and Kaldi's gonna race ahead in card advantage for now, though, getting himself the Ancient of Lore with Innervate coin in hand. That opens up options in the late game.
Yeah, a key card in Kaldi's hand right now is that Ragnaros, and Ragnaros along with Dr. Boom, they're 2 of the cards that just rogues really struggle to deal with. Rogues actually, just in general, they struggle to deal with legendaries because Dr. Boom, Ragnaros, Harrison Jones, and Lotheb, I think those are the 4 neutral cards that rogues struggle with the most.
Yeah, Ragnaros is such a big problem.
So what I'm saying, where I'm heading towards with that is that, is Ren Blackhand a good inclusion into rogue decks?
I was thinking about that yesterday. You know, I actually wanted to talk about it with somebody on Skype and hit them up because my initial review of Ren Blackhand was a horrible one. I was like, you know what, this is the new Hemet Nessingwary. And then I've been thinking, well, what if Paladin Dragon becomes a thing and Ysera gets played and BGH doesn't work? You have to play Shaman for Hex and everything, and you end up, you know, teching in too many silences perhaps for the faster decks. What if you just play Ren Blackhand in something like an Oil Rogue, and you can still handle a pretty big array of the metagame by just taking that one card in, because it's already useful against most of the stuff that gives you problems.
Yeah. That being said, like, you need dragons in your deck if you,
yeah.
if you play Ren Blackhand.
That's right. That's right.
So you'd have to play Dragon Rogue. Okay,
right,
so
Dragon Rogue.
Kaldi goes for the more risky option, but he gets rewarded for it. Rag hits the target, and Dog doesn't have an answer for it at all. So
you want to talk about reward though? Look at this hand from Dog. It's not too bad. He's got the burst if he feels like going for it.
Yeah, he's just missing that Blade Flurry. How good would this hand be with Blade Flurry, though?
It would be disgustingly strong here. Like, it's just, it's one... It feels like it's just a tiny bit away from working perfectly. But if he reduces the cost of Southsea Deckhand and Deadly to, you know, to 0, and Tinker's Sharpsword 3, then Prep gives Tinker's Sharpsword a 0 cost. So if he finds a sprint, he can still do what he wants, I guess. On the back of that. I mean, Blade Flurry would allow him to get it. Like, you sprint for 7 on 9, and then you find Blade Flurry. I mean, it's just so risky at this point to not trade into the board, but...
Yeah, we do have to consider, though, that the Druid is coming up on turn 9, and we all know what that means. Oh, he's gonna go for this play.
Alright, so he's probably gonna be, do you think he's gonna be trading away
no way
anything? I think you just go full face here for burst, right?
Yeah, he sees that, like, he's running out of cards, and there's a Ragnaros on the board that he can't deal with, so you pretty much have to go all in at this point, and he's gonna be relying on a draw like an Eviscerate, perhaps, to finish off the game.
Yep. Well, let's see what Kaldi finds here, because he doesn't have any piece of the combo. In fact, I'm not even sure I saw any of them. I didn't see last Savage War nor Force of Nature last game. But I'd be surprised if he wasn't running it. But
yeah, I mean, like, with this type of Druid, it's
it makes
not
no
like
sense, right?
it's definitely not Ramp Druid. So yeah, I would think it doesn't make too much sense not to run Force of Nature Savage War in this deck. That being said, I think Kaldi can kind of guarantee he can survive just by throwing down a Druid of the Claw and a Sludge Belcher.
Both of them, yeah.
Yeah, both of them. And then if you really want to be really safe, you can innervate out and coin out a Hero Power as well.
Put yourself on 9 health, away from an uncomboed Eviscerate or a second SI.
And plus, you like have all these taunts anyway. But you are
Yeah.
playing around some 2-card combo that can kill you. I think this is
You
gonna be
you
interesting.
trade into the 5-1, right?
Oh yeah, almost certainly. You just don't want that damage on the board. You want to be playing as safe as possible right now.
Now he's
Because
thinking about innovating that hero power, and I think he should at this point. Might as well commit because your hand is already playable from what you've got, so you don't really worry about lacking the mana for the future turns. It's more about living.
I like living.
You like living?
Life is good.
I hate it. Alright, so, does he find something? He finds a sap. That's really no help. I mean, it's not horrible, but... Emperor Sap, I guess, is gonna have to be his play. I just don't know. Does he sap Rag?
That's so much value from Emperor though. Reducing all the remaining cards in his hand by 1.
Oh my god, that's infinite. 0 cards reduced below 0. That is like Wisp level value right there.
Well, it's
Right there.
it's division error by 0.
Yeah.
Error.
Hearthstone's
Value.
Hearthstone's about to crash. Remember that crash when Emperor was released on Molten Giants?
Oh yeah.
If it reduced the cost of Molten Giant and you just couldn't play.
Well,
It just
props to
crashed
Blizzard
Hearthstone.
for quick patching that.
Yeah,
don't
it's
like-
it was as fast as the Warsong Commander. I'm pretty surprised. It was a really quick fix. Now we just have to see whether or not they fix the Imp Gang boss as fast as they did the Warsong.
Well, I feel like with the Imp Gang boss, it's not like it crashes your game, so I think that's a lot better.
Yeah, it's not as big a deal, I'd venture to say.
Well, this Emperor is like surprisingly annoying because there's no good way to deal with it efficiently.
Mm.
And
Could
Kaldi
you
again,
sacrifice your second Druid of the Claw into it with perhaps your other Druid of the Claw? Because I mean, the
I
rogue
think-
can't deal with that 4/6 any better than.
I think you might even be able to just go for phase here because you have to be thinking at this point, my opponent doesn't have any cards, so what's the best card he can top deck? And I can't even think of something good that he can top deck at this point. to be
Sprint
honest.
into another prep into Eviscerate and Blade Flurry together, and then that would be the
Yes.
game. But that's about it.
Yes, I would agree. That's probably the best. But yeah, unfortunately, Dog doesn't get anything, and he succumbs to this Druid from Kaldi with Kazan Mystic.
Yep, Kazan Mystic.
It's going to be Mech Shaman. It's going to be the Archon build of Mech Shaman.
Yeah, the Fel Reaver is a dead giveaway. And Dog finds the deadly poison, but no backstab SI, which is really important against Mech Shaman, if only to be able to remove the possible early Whirling Zapomatics and even go through Anoyotrons much more easily.
Yeah,
Those
so-
guys are really problematic. The Anoyotrons, it's kind of like a Stoneclaw Totem, but even worse.
Just look. Okay, nice way to think about it. Yeah, I guess it is a Stoneclaw Totem. Dog's hand is it's all right. He has the coin, probably the most important card to get as Rogue. But
It's funny to say, it's not even in his deck, and it's the most important card to get.
But yeah, but he doesn't have an SI. Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Esports! Yes, okay, all you have to do is get the SI with the coin, and suddenly your matchup against anything really improves.
Yeah, so even though Kaldi he has a Mech Warper, he can't really play it too effectively here.
Yeah, you can't warp the
Because-
mechs in this position. You have to wait one turn. I guess you could play the totem, but you want to squeeze in that 3 damage a turn if, given the chance.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And, yeah, SI is gonna come down, and Kaldi's gonna be a little sad. He's gonna have to use his Rockbiter weapon into the Mech Warper, and that's like he's gonna like it's not just very little pressure coming from Kaldi at this point.
I think how much do you like the Rockbiter? Is it mandatory, or can you play an Oiltron instead? The number 2 in Oiltron. I think Rockbiter is by far a more,
think-
like a safer line of play.
Yeah, I like this line of play because next turn you can fit in the Inertron plus the Totem.
Yeah, it's 1
Whereas-
mana anyway.
Yeah, like if the Mech Warper dies, for instance, this is just
Mhm.
more mana efficient.
You could still do it. Oh, Dog is going to be looking for a Blade Flurry very soon, I can tell you that much.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Fel
wow,
Reaver for
on
4.
whoa. Wait, no, Deadly Sap? Would he ever do that? Would Dog ever be crazy enough? I think you just sap it, right? You sap and Redagger. And then you punish him again by getting your full-on...
Well, if
Deadly
he gives a
value.
preparation, no.
Nah, no prep. Sad
That would be-
days.
That'd be pretty insane though. If I had a teacher prep Sap, mill your opponent for 9
How
cards.
good is Sap Eviscerate here? You can Eviscerate the Mech Warper right after that? The thing is, like, the Fel Reaver is bound to come back down right afterwards, right? So...
Yeah, that's true. Like, you have to plan for a turn 5 Fel Reaver as well if you plan to sap this.
Yeah.
And currently, he doesn't have a very good way to deal with it. That being said, if he doesn't eviscerate this Mech Warper, a Fel Reaver plus a Neutron will come down, and that's
even worse. Yeah.
position. Exactly.
So Pyromace is gone, Spider Tank is gone, and Cogmaster is gone. Now, there's Dr. Balance already in Kaldi's hands, so he's not really too afraid of not having a really solid play for the late game. Because usually the problem in the Fel Reaver is that your biggest threats get milled, and then you lack steam. But one of his best cards is in there, and there he goes. He just picks up a second one.
Yeah, so
Wow.
for those of you who didn't really pay attention to Sea Story Cup, this is, like I said, the new Mech Shaman from Team Archon, and it tops out curving at exactly the cards that you see on screen right now, Dr. Boom and Ragnaros. Its other big threats are the 2 Fel Reavers and the Doom Hammer, so just a very aggressive deck right here.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I think Dog's position is horrible. The Inogatrons are a big problem for him. If only to be able to take out something like a Mech Warper with his weapon with deadly poison, but he can't. Nothing he does is currently very effective. Like, the cards that are getting milled are irrelevant as far as Kaldi is concerned. His biggest threat's already on the board, and he finds the Loatheb to seal the spells. Wow. Okay,
Wow.
yeah, that is game, right?
Yeah, just trying like a god here. Like in the previous game, remember in the previous game I said
Yeah.
the 3 most important cards for the most important cards for any deck against Rogue are the Loatheb, the Dr. Boom, and the
And
Ragnaros.
the Ragnaros, yeah.
Yeah, and he drew all 3 of the important